Hello and welcome to the Retail Week, our roundup of the biggest stories in retail from the last 7 days. I'm joined by reporter Grace Bowden and executive editor George MacDonald. Today we're going to be talking about Asda, Sainsbury's, Jones Bootmaker and Brantano, and also chairman of Tesco, John Allen's comments at Retail Week Live last week. So George, Asda first of all, they've said they'll give all store staff a pay increase and more flexible hours. Is that a good deal as it sounds?
I think what Asda's done is very interesting actually, because that pay increase is a choice. So their staff can either have the higher rate, £8.50 an hour, but give up things like paid breaks, or they can choose to stay on their current terms, but in that case they will be paid £7.50, which is the national living wage. So it's quite an interesting way of doing things. You know, I do think they're allowing their staff to make decisions that suit them. Some people, for various reasons, might prefer to stay on their current terms, but Asda says that 95% of its staff would be better off accepting the new proposed deal.
And obviously in that way they avoid the bad publicity that some other retailers have come in for with introducing compulsory pay increases. I'm thinking about the likes of B&Q and M&S, for example.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, both of them had quite a bashing when they proposed changes to contracts, even though pay was going up. So I do think this looks quite a smart move by Asda. Also, interestingly, in the light of those earlier controversies, Asda's proposals were endorsed by the GMB union, who said it was a good deal.
Obviously, more grocery news today as well. Another one of the big four, Sainsbury's, has announced their Q4 results. What did you make of them?
It was interesting that Argos really outperformed Sainsbury's.
Yeah.
Ironically, given the fact that Argos is a general merchandise retailer, it did very well, but the late timing of Easter and Mother's Day meant that general merchandise at Sainsbury's didn't do so well. In many ways, though, the grocery business, a familiar story. Convenience doing well, online continuing to grow, to fashion growing. But it's not shooting the lights out at all. And there has been a resurgence by Tesco and Sainsbury's, Tesco and Morrison's, and even Asda, although in the most recent Kantar data their sales were still declining, the rate was much slower. So Sainsbury's is operating in a very competitive environment, and its pretty flat performance shows that. So I don't think it's it's by no means a disaster, but neither is it reasons for popping the champagne.
Unlike at Argos, where they'll be absolutely going for it.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe we're seeing some of the fruits of the rationale of that deal.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Obviously, George mentioned Tesco doing well just then. Not doing so well last week when Chairman John Allen came under fire a little bit at Retail Week Live. Grace, you had some pretty strong opinions on this. Why don't you share them with us?
Here I go, soapbox. He spoke at Retail Week Live last week, and there was quite a lot of pickup following his talk. He was a part of a panel that was discussing the role of the non-executive director, and within that panel, he described the white male non-executive director as an endangered species.
Okay.
You would think that was absolutely all he'd said if you looked at
Yeah,
his comments.
no, it
over
doesn't
the
sound
weekend.
good on its own, does it?
No. It's not the best soundbite ever. And I think he would absolutely agree with that. I think the thing that to me strikes me as a real shame is actually what that soundbite sounds like and what he was actually saying are in fact worlds apart.
Yeah.
He was basically saying that it's a time when retailers are really looking to diversify their management and have people who don't fit that sort of traditional status quo. He talked about how white men had been in these roles for, like, he used the phrase, the last 1,000 years. He described the way he was talking as being quite hyperbolic. And if you look at the statement as a whole, that's obviously his intention. It was meant to be a bit humorous and a bit tongue-in-cheek. And what he was saying is it's actually a real opportunity for women, people of colour, people who don't fit that standard status quo, to really push for those roles, and it's a really good time for them. I think that we're obviously at the beginning of that journey. I don't think John Allen would deny that. I don't think he's saying we've arrived at this beautiful business utopia where we have people of all colours and creeds and genders representing companies at the highest level. But what he was saying was, now's the time to go for it, because we are looking to change that status quo.
Okay.
And I guess the frustration for me is that by getting bogged down in a single quote and not actually engaging in the conversation, you do absolutely nothing to move the conversation forward.
No.
What you do is make people who will talk about this conversation and talk about this topic of diversity more scared to talk about it, because their PR, they had to issue a statement and he had to
roll back
comments, and next time someone's going to want to talk about this, they're going to be like, well, look what happened to John Allen, I'm just going to stay under the parapet, and that does nothing to change the status quo, and that's what I think is so ironic about it. Was it a foot in the mouth moment? 100% yes. Was it a faux pas? Absolutely. Was it him saying that, oh no, white men aren't going to be in charge forever? No, absolutely not.
It was the opposite of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So talking things that have happened in and around Retail Week, we've had a couple of exclusives this week broken by our head of content, Luke Tugby, the man never sleeps. News that Jones, Bootmaker and Brentano are both on the brink of administration. Becky, what's been going on?
Well, it's a familiar story for Brentano. Obviously, it entered administration around this time last year as well, put through it by its owners, Alteri. Alteri obviously bought both shoe retailers from Macintosh, which is a Dutch group, in just the kind of autumn of 2015. So it's been a relatively short journey. And there are signs that they've tried to turn things around. They brought in a former Links of London boss, David Ridderford, to head things up. But I think really what's gone wrong is that they haven't moved fast enough in what is a really, really tough market. It's not the type of market where you can show a kind of a flash of weakness. We've got Brexit and the impact of the pound there.
Living wage as well.
We've got the living wage and the apprenticeship levy is soon going to come in, obviously. And then we've got kind of rocky consumer confidence. And in that market, you can't afford to be weak, as I said. They've had cash flow problems, and it really looks like the same picture over again.
And it's not a sector that at large is having a fantastic time either. Like Clarks has recently launched a review of their store estate as well. It seems like all of the sort of factors that are affecting the sector at large, combined with what seems to be a really squeezed sector anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I think for a little while now, the BRC monthly sales figures have shown that footwear is a sector that is really under pressure. I think the interesting thing now is that it's possible that neither will go into administration. They hope that having filed notice of intent, that will give them a breathing space to pull off a sale. I suspect some sort of process, though, like a pre-pack or something like that, will be deployed. There do seem to be some potential buyers, though. Kurt Geiger is one name being mentioned, and Endless,
Endless,
private equity turnaround firm. So we will see. But the fact that it's happened once before in relatively recent times just makes you think that
perhaps doesn't bode well.
It's going to, some magic dust will need to be sprinkled on that business.
Yes. And obviously next week is a busy week as well. We've got Kingfisher, we've got SCS and Ted Baker, and the big one is obviously Next, which has had a really bad year for the first time in a long time. So that'll be interesting to hear what Lord Wolfson's got to say. Well, I think that's all we've got time for this week. You can read all the stories that we've been talking about on our website. And of course engage with us on our Twitter handles below. Thanks for joining us.